3. If you hear the answer to question 3 before you hear the answer to question 2, it simply means you have missed the answer to question 2. In this kind of a case, just move on, just continue. Now, what is this trying to say? Pay attention to every answer. Look at more than one question at a time. At a time, look at more than one question. It is very important. Look at more than one question at a time. This is very, very important. Now, with this kind of a question, in this situation, you are expected, right? If you miss the answer to any question, because the audio will not play again, you are just expected to move on. There will be distraction. You could be in the test hall and somebody is horning a truck outside. All those long trailers where they are horn, they scare person. all those big trailers, someone will be honking them outside. It could just be a form of distraction. Maybe your test center is close to the road, actually. Not like the person would intentionally be doing it in a quiet environment. Maybe your test center is close to the road, and then this distraction comes in. So please take notes. Take note of this. Then, again, underline words or places in the map that relate to the questions. Places in the map that you know that they would use them to describe. I talked about this earlier. Look at other words. Now underline these other words that they would use to describe the other places. Then, most importantly and lastly, use your finger to trace a place that is being talked about. Point at it. Anybody that is looking at you that is not there to write the exam, that is looking at you, let the person think whatever they want to think. Let them think that you're acting like a child, pointing things. It doesn't matter. Point it and they write the answer, the place that they are talking about in the map. Point it with your finger. There's a reason for that. It simply means that you are with them each and every step of the way, or you are with them every inch of the way. So please take note of this. Then the next question type is the form, notes, table, flowchart, and summary completion. This question type is just one completion question type. They could introduce a form, which usually comes in around question number 1. They could introduce a table, which also comes in section 1, or a flowchart. A flowchart describes a process, or a summary, or they could introduce a note, but this is a completion task. You have to complete some things. Now, please, let's quickly look at them one after the other. For a form is used to record factual details such as names, addresses, telephone numbers, etc. Take note of a form. Take note of this. Then a set of notes. This is used to summarize information using the layout to show you how the different items relate to one another. This is a note. Then a table used to summarize information that relates to clear categories, e.g., place, time, price. Pay attention to this. Then a flowchart, this summarizes a process. I mentioned that earlier. A flowchart describes a process. Now, this summarizes a process which has clear stages. From here, we move on to this. Now, this is usually common in section 3 during that academic conversation. How were you able to come up with this? Now, they start describing things. Okay, at this point, we moved on to this point. At this other point, we moved on to this point. At this other point, we moved on to this point. That is a flow chart. In all of them, you would select missing words in either way, either from a list presented in the question paper or from the recording. You must also keep in mind that there's a word limit. Write no more than 2 words and or a number. Write no more than 2 words. Write no more than 1 word. Please take note of this word limit in all these question types. Now, I mentioned something. They will give you a list. You select this from a list of questions. They could provide you with a list of possible answers, and then you are asked to select them. Or you could take them directly from the recording. If there is no list provided, that means you have to take them directly from the recording. So please take note of this. Now, in this last part, they said you should read the instruction carefully, as the number of words or numbers you should write or use will always vary. A word limit is given. For example, write no more than 2 words and or a number. If you use more than the word limit, your answer will be marked as incorrect. So check the word limit carefully for each questions or for each set of questions. Then next, they said contracted words will not be graded. They will not be tested. It is a hyphenated word count as 1 word. Policeman. Policeman hyphenated, it counts as 1 word. So don't think that you're writing 2 words when you write a policeman. Then sentence completion. In sentence completion, you are required to read a set of sentences summarizing key information from either the listening test or from one part of it. From either the full listening test or one part of it. So pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. So in this case, you will fill in the gap. You will fill in a gap in each sentence using information from the listening text. Now, a word limit is also given. Write no more than 2 words and or a number. For example, now all these word limits here, they are examples. We don't know the number of words or the word limit that you would meet in your tests. So please take note of this. Now, you should always read instructions very carefully, as the number of words or numbers you should use will usually vary. That's the same thing we just read there. If you use more than that, then there's a problem. So sentence completion focuses on your ability to identify the key information in the listening text. You must understand functional relationships such as cause and effect. There's a difference between cause and effect, and there's a difference between problem and cause. Please take note of this. We talked about this in the writing, so please take note of this. Then next and lastly is the short answer questions. These are direct questions actually. What is this? The answer is this. In the short answer question type, you are required to read the question and then write a short answer using the information from the listening text. Sometimes the test takers are given a question which asks them to list 2 or 3 points. So please take note of this. Then they also said a word limit is given. We've already talked about word limit and hyphenated words and contracted words. Then lastly, short answer questions focuses on your ability to listen for concrete facts such as places, prices, or times within the listening text. So basically, the entire listening test checks your ability to use the English language proficiently. So the entire listening test pays attention to your ability in using the English language proficiently? How well are you able to listen and comprehend what you are being told in English language? That is what the listening section of this test checks you on. So with that, we would call it a day. See you in the next video.